Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of No Limits. My name is Scott Morgan, Rock Motor City Madmouth, along with Candy Evelyn. Good evening, Candy. How are you tonight?
I'm good. How are you, Mr. Scott?
Doing very good, thank you. Very productive day here on the big show here at South
Good.
Florida Tribune, trying to get our stuff out to everybody out there that wants to read it, and we're aiming some future broadcasts.
Sounds good.
So
So you
meanwhile,
ready to talk a little bit, what's going on tonight, Game 6 of the World Series.
how appropriate. Timing is
So we're gonna
phenomenal.
so we're gonna talk about baseball stadiums tonight. So let's start with some facts about different stadiums.
Okay.
Smallest stadium in the current MLB format would be Tropicana Field. Do you know who plays in Tropicana Field?
Well, the Tampa Bay Rays. Once upon
One
a
of the
time,
team,
the Tampa Bay Devil Rays before they rebranded themselves.
and the seating capacity right now in their stadium is 25,000. Obviously, these are before COVID numbers because obviously the seating capacity, they weren't letting as many people in on any of these. So, but I just wanted total seating capacity for the stadiums. And let's go to the other end of the spectrum. The largest holds 56,000 as capacity, and that would be Dodgers Stadium. And who plays there?
Los Angeles Dodgers.
So the two teams that happen to be in the World Series, the largest and the smallest capacity stadiums.
Yeah, I can hardly justify the payrolls, David and Goliath, too. But the Rays, 25,000, they ended up reducing it, knowing full well that they did it because their stadiums were so godly empty when they were contending that they couldn't even sell out postseason games. So, and they were putting tarps on there just to reduce capacity. But that's really based on the market size and the payroll and so forth. I think there's a lot more to that situation than meets the eye.
I would agree. And they're one of the ones that are contemplating, or should I say, maybe bickering over a new stadium and where to put it, who's going to pay for it, all that good stuff.
Well, the logical choice being a former Tampa resident and graduating University of South Florida, they need to put it on the Hillsborough side. Let me give you a little history behind that situation. There was a time when Hillsborough wanted it right near Tampa Stadium. They were going to build it right over there, but St. Petersburg went out and built the stadium anyways, and then made such a big deal. Tampa said, you know what, if you really want it that bad, you can keep it, and they didn't bother building. So a little bit of history. I thought it was a waste of money that they built the team before they actually had the stadium, and they were courting the San Francisco Giants and the Chicago White Sox, but none of that came to fruition.
Interesting. So there is 5 stadiums in the Major League that actually they play on artificial turf, not grass. Can you name a couple?
Sure. Sky Dome is one of them. I don't know what they call it, Rogers Center, but it was a Sky Dome in my eyes. It'll always be considered a Sky Dome. And of
That's
course,
one.
Tampa Bay has got to be one of them.
Exactly, yes. There's another one down here in Florida
That plays here on turf,
that plays on artificial turf down here in Florida.
in Marlins Park.
Yes.
Yeah.
Then we jump over to Texas and Globe Life Field. And last but not the least, out in Arizona,
Chase Field.
Chase Field. Exactly. Everybody else plays on grass.
Yeah, formerly known as Bank One Ballpark when I was there watching the Tigers take on the Arizona Diamondbacks in a memorable 3-game series that occurred over on Father's Day, and I got to spend time with my uncle, Ernie Hartwell. So
Nice. Okay, so let's go to roof type. So there is one field that the roof is fixed. Do you know which one that is?
yeah, fix has got to be Tropicana Field.
Correct. That's where the Rays play. So it looks like a big, what would you say, like a big balloon?
I don't know what to call that.
I don't know either. But it's fixed. It's a big dome.
It looks like a circus and a big top, if you ask me. But that cantilever roof or whatever it is, that the canvas and the a way it's set up. It's an interesting design. Let me give you a little trivia behind that stadium. Once upon a time, that stadium actually housed the Tampa Bay Lightning, and they used to put 30,000 people in that stadium, and I saw a Lightning game over there.
I can't imagine seeing that.
Yeah, I did go there, and then they moved. Of course, the Lightning moved downtown where they're at now. But the Lightning did play there. Lightning played at a few different facilities. They played at the old Tampa Fairgrounds for like 10,000, and they darted over to St. Petersburg until they landed their downtown stadium. So, a little bit of history there.
Interesting. So there's 7 fields or 7 stadiums in the Major League Baseball that have a retractable roof. So that would be all the ones, ironically, that have the artificial. So it'd be the Chase Field, it would be Marlins Park, it would be Miller Park, it would be Rogers Center. The newer one, or the other ones, would be T-Mobile Park in Seattle, Minute Maid Park in Houston, and Globe Life Field were the Texas Rangers.
Well, Seattle makes a lot of sense. All they do is get rain there anyways. Miami obviously had to do that because they get rain. You ever go to a game at Joe Robbie Stadium and find yourself knowing that it's a struggle to get a game in? You can't plan just like you guys couldn't do in Miller Park. Whether you're going to have bad weather or cold, I think the retractable way is the way to go. Certainly more expensive, but if you can get the best of both worlds inside and outside, you certainly do it if you can swing it.
I agree. I know the Milwaukee Brewers play at Miller Park, which is now American Family Fields. It's gonna be hard to get used to that name.
Well, I never will, but that's okay.
I know, but it was very controversial putting a retractable roof over that stadium. But I think in the end they made the right call because the Brewers draw from all over the state. And the way to ensure that they were going to play a game was to put a retractable. So they have busloads of people that come from different parts of the state. And I hate to say that they call it Wrigley North. So even Cubs fans, they're guaranteed the game. They know it won't be washed out or anything like that. So they can plan accordingly. So they do draw pretty good attendance, which helps.
Yeah, the Metrodome used to be fully closed to until they decided to rip it down. The Vikings play there, and they went over to Target Field is what they did, an outdoor ballpark. But we both from what have had a chance to see both baseball and football there, and great location, horrible stadium. They just built it on pennies, and they got but it lasted for a long time until ultimately the roof gave way, and it was time to update it big time. And the Vikings did well upgrading it to what they did. And of course, the Twins didn't make out so badly either, right down the road from Target Arena or Stadium.
Mm-hmm. So speaking of the Metrodome going by the wayside and they building a new stadium, can you tell me who has the oldest, or what are the 2 oldest stadiums or ballparks in the major leagues?
Well, you got Wrigley Field and Fenway Park for sure. Dodger Stadium probably ranks 3rd.
Correct. So Fenway Park opened in 1912. Wrigley Field opened in 1914. Dodger Stadium is the next oldest, and it was opened in 1962.
Right, and prior to that, Dodgers played over the LA Coliseum. I made one trip to Dodger Stadium for the 1984 Olympics, and the United States took on Korea, and it was pretty neat. I really enjoyed going to Dodger Stadium. I look forward to going back there again. Of course, now we have ties to the LA area, at least the Tribune and myself, through Southern California. So that's certainly another item I'd like to ultimately go back to, seeing a Dodgers game for sure. Dodgers have been very hospitable to us.
That's good. So now let's go to the other end of the spectrum. What's the 2 newest parks? Do you know? I'm sure you can guess the newest park.
Yeah, obviously the one in Texas has got to be the newest one.
Mm-hmm. The one before that, we've actually been to, or we haven't been to, but it's in Atlanta.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Trust Field. I think they call it Truist Field now.
Truist Field, yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, because SunTrust and BB&T merged, so
right,
now it's called Truist.
right. I went to the old Atlanta Fulton County Stadium many years ago. I never made it out to Turner Field, but what they did is they redeveloped Turner Field into a football stadium for Georgia State University. So I'm glad anytime you can go ahead and build a stadium inside of 30 years old, you're able to redevelop it instead of tearing it down. It's a waste of money. In fact, they did the same thing in Texas with a prior ballpark, I think Globe Life Park. They turned it into a football stadium, which, by the way, happens to be across from Jerry's place, but they can do anything they want. An XFL team was supposed to go in there. Well, maybe when the XFL does revive, they will, but the idea is good. You know, Jerry's place will house the big stuff, and then Texas has such big high school football that they could use another football field in a football-rich high school state such as Texas.
Mm-hmm. I agree. So obviously the let's go to the cost of the parks to build them. So obviously the ones that are the oldest, they're not going to cost the most because let's face it, they were built how many years ago? So Wrigley Field was actually built for $250,000. Fenway Park was built $650,000. And now we take it to the other end of the spectrum. Globe Life, which was just built, just opened this year, 1.2 billion, but it actually isn't the one that cost the most. Yankee Stadium cost 1.6 billion, and it was opened in 2009.
Well, that doesn't surprise me. The Yankees don't do anything in a small way; they do it in a big way. Bear in mind, though, the Dodger Stadium's getting a major renovation, so whatever the cost of theirs probably is meaningless because now they're redoing it and bringing it up to modern standards. And they were supposed to get the All-Star game this year, but unfortunately, COVID-19 fixed that situation.
I think COVID-19 fixed a lot of this
No
situation.
kidding, yeah, no, but that's where they're supposed to get it, but they'll get it soon enough.
So
For a major remodel, Dodger Stadium should be complete if it isn't already.
That would be cool to see. So let's talk about the actual field itself. The smallest field compared to the biggest field. And when I talk about that, I'm talking about distance to center field.
Right.
So the smallest field is Fenway Park, which kind of makes sense. It's the oldest. It was built a long time ago. It's 390 feet. But surprisingly, the largest is only a difference of is a difference of 30 feet. It would be 420 feet. And that would be your all-time hometown. What field?
If you're assuming Comerica Park, that's what it is. But Tiger Stadium had a deep center field as well. They really did. So it wasn't easy hitting them out of center field in Tiger Stadium. So, but Fenway Park is a bandbox, is what it is. I mean, it's always been known for being a hitter's park. You and I had the good fortune of going to Fort Myers and seeing Fenway South. So it's kind of like the little green monster. It was a pretty cool place. I think that's still today one of the best spring training facilities I've ever gone to because of the unique nature of it and how much it really resembles the place up north. And nowadays, teams are starting to make sure that these stadiums resemble their place up north because they're acclimating not only their prospects to play in them, but as well as the guys that they bring in. So I think JetBlue Park in Fort Myers is unbelievable, but yeah, with a little mini green monster.
And considering we've been to all of the spring training parks in Arizona, and now we've been to a good handful of them here in Florida, not all of them yet.
There's like 6 or 7 to go, especially if they keep building the brand new ones, but we'll get into them ultimately.
We will. But I would agree with you that JetBlue is a jewel of a ballpark. And like you said, when we went there, it was a couple of years ago on Easter, and they were telling us that it was built the dimensions of the field are built exactly the same.
Right.
I believe the height of the Green Monster isn't the same height. But, and then the only other difference they said was that they are in the actual opposite dugouts down here in spring training as they are up there. Otherwise, all the dimensions of the field are exactly the same.
Yeah, I wouldn't put any stock in. Who cares what dugout you're in? The whole idea is the familiarity of the surroundings and the playing surface and the dimension. That's all that really matters. The average fan won't know what side of the field you're on anyways. Nobody cares.
I agree. I agree. So list to me some of your favorite ballparks that you've been to, because you've probably been to a whole bunch.
Yeah, but I've been to a lot of multi-purpose stadiums, but there's no question Tiger Stadium is one that I treasure. I'll tell you an interesting one I went to many years ago was Memorial Stadium in Baltimore. But I went there for a baseball game, but then Candlestick Park, I went there for football. It was interesting the way the wind whips around. But how can I not say Tiger Stadium, Comiskey Park? I enjoyed the old Comiskey Park. It was really neat, really windy. I ended up taking a jacket in there. Thought, I don't need one, but I took one anyways, and boy, did I ever need it. Wrigley Field's iconic. Dodger Stadium, even though I went there for the Olympics, was great. Enjoyed that one. So there, Riverfront Stadium wasn't bad either.
Mm-hmm.
One of the older, I'll never forget the time I went to Cleveland Municipal Stadium. I saw the Toronto Blue Jays take on the Cleveland Indians, and Dave Stieb had a perfect game to take it away from him because a ball hit a rock and went right over the second baseman's head. That was the closest thing I saw to a perfect game. And then I actually saw a game at the old Exhibition Stadium, and then ended up going to the new place. So, I've been to quite a few of them. But Yankee Stadium, how do you not love the old Yankee Stadium? Well, I mean, the remodeled version they had, the Yankee Stadium was done in parts. It was redone in the 70s from its original capacity back in the day when Ruth built it. And then, of course, it was subsequently torn down. So, but to be able to see a game at the site of the original stadium, to me, how do you not love that? I mean, Yankee fans are unquestionably some of the best on the planet, and it shows. There's a lot of memories on that very field. So, but yeah, I'll go Tiger Stadium all day long. Number one, I have to.
I think everybody would, for nostalgia reasons, would go with the ballpark that they grew up knowing and probably going to the most. I mean, yes, I've been to Wrigley. Wrigley is great. I've toured Coors Field. I've never seen a game there. I was also at Synergy Field. I've been to
Synergy Field. Is that Cincinnati?
That is Cincinnati.
Well, that was Riverfront Stadium. They just renamed it. Same place, but on the river, right?
Yes, it was.
Okay.
Marlins Park actually is not a bad park. It's just in the wrong location.
Oh, yeah. Well, there's a little story behind that, too. I think they wanted to bring it north, but nobody would give them the land. So Jeffrey Loria did the only thing he could do, fleece the city of Miami and take it down to that area. I mean, so I think the Marlins would certainly be better served at the ballpark. It was a little bit north, so you got be accessible to Palm Beach, Broward, and Dade County. They took the best deal that they could take, which I completely understand, for a very historical site by the Orange Bowl, but they took the deal they could get. It wasn't the best location on the planet long term, but that's what they had to do.
I understand. I mean, let's face it, Miller Park is near and dear to my heart. I got married inside that ballpark. I did like County Stadium. It wasn't the best ballpark, but it's a ballpark I knew growing up.
Right.
So it has memories that'll go way back with me. And I know it's not, by any stretch of the imagination, a pretty park.
Right.
It was your basic ballpark, but like I said, it's the one I grew up with, so it's the one I know the most.
Makes sense. If you folks, fans out there are growing up by a ballpark, everybody knows you're going to be sensitive and favorite toward, and it's just normal.
It is, and there's nothing wrong with that. So Scott, bucket list.
Fenway Park.
that the only one on your?
I wouldn't mind actually seeing a game at Coors Field either. I think it'd be pretty good.
Okay, what about this new Globe Life?
Yeah, well, of course I'd like to go there. I think it's sounds like a pretty good place. But, I mean, a lot of the newer ballparks you'd like to go, but if I had to prioritize them, I definitely believe that Fenway Park is a shrine.
Yep,
There's others to it. Globe
I would
Life
agree with that.
is not in the, is Globe Life is not on the endangered list since it's brand new.
That's true.
Minute Maid Park to me I've driven by it but never been in it. But Coors Field would be neat. I know that the altitude's pretty high out there, and I'd like to be able
Oh
to.
yeah,
And I hear the stadium in San Diego is beautiful, Petco Park, right by the water. But I actually saw football games over at Jack Murphy Stadium, which was yet again a multi-purpose stadium. When you talk about stadiums nowadays, they have them specifically built for teams. But I remember going to the old Oakland Coliseum and saw the Lions and the Raiders play out there, so you could see the Lions for football and baseball there as well. So you had the dirt on top of the grass.
I agree.
Camden Yards, I hear, is a dynamo out in Baltimore too. But yet I went to RFK Stadium for the Lions and the Redskins, and they host the Washington Senators there. But to answer your question, top of the list, I would definitely. Well, I'd like to go to the new Yankee Stadium as well.
Yankee Stadium and Fenway Park would be the two on my list because I've actually never been to New York, so I would like to at some point go.
Well, the thing is they're building a lot of the newer ballparks to resemble a lot of the old ones back in the past, only with all the amenities and the bells and whistles. So you have a lot of
full fan experience.
Yep, without a doubt.
Any other bucket list ones that you'd like to go to?
Well,
or memories that you want to relive and retell?
I mean, are we talking about the regular ballparks? Or are we talking about spring training? Because if I want to sit there and get into spring training, they've done a really great job in Tiger Town in Lakeland, Florida. They really have done a really good job there. And the Detroit Tigers have the longest standing relationship in any given city than any team in Major League Baseball, dating back to their time, going back to Henley Field in Lakeland until they moved it over to Tiger Town. So they talk about a great area that loves their baseball, but too many to mention. I think the bucket list speaks for itself. I mean, like you said, we ran the gamut in terms of all the stadiums around the Cactus League. I'm glad we did what we did. We took out the last one, Scottsdale Stadium. Sloan Park's beautiful, but they're always going to build brand new ones. I hope by now they're done building a lot of the parks. The only two basically left, I think, are Tampa and Oakland. Other than that, I don't know what other stadiums you'll need. Unless they decide to expand, then it's another story.
Well, and Wrigley Field, I think, was supposed to go under a massive renovation.
They renovated that too. The Ricketts family has soaked a lot of money into that stadium to make it what it is.
Mm-hmm. I agree. So I guess it should be on the bucket list to go back to at some point to see all the renovations, because it is an iconic. If you think about all the stadiums, whether it be football or baseball or basketball, that it's been around forever, and it's iconic. With baseball, you think of Wrigley Field. I can't imagine the Cubs playing in any other ballpark, stadium. Just like the Packers, I can never see them, not playing in Lambeau.
Well, Wrigley Field and Fenway Park, remember, and only just the stadiums around it. What about the sports bars that are around them too, that make it not only the stadium, but the focal point of that immediate community where you go across the street, just hang out there year round. So there's a lot more to that situation meets I just passed the ballpark.
Correct.
But I would like to go to Colorado. I think that'd be pretty good. And I remember a few years ago, I built a good relationship with those people. I'm sure many of those PR people are in place. So it's hard to tell. I mean, I've got relationships with a lot of people. I love baseball, and it's a sport that I've built relationships over the years. So if there's a way to get to it at some point or another before time runs out, every ballpark I can get to is on a bucket list.
Well, hopefully COVID-19 won't hamper any of that. because it's hampered a lot this year.
Yeah, well, I'm not so sure 2021 is going to be that much easier either, to be honest with you. But time will tell. We'll leave it.
TBD, right?
Yeah,
So let's talk about the World Series. It's being played at Globe Life Field.
right.
We've watched a little bit of the games here and there. Any thoughts so far on the field that you've seen, or?
Well, yeah, they did a great job. I'm glad that they put it in the brand new ballpark, out with the Rangers ballpark. Retractable roof, had the ability to go inside and out. I think it's great. Break in the new ballpark, and you have a David and Goliath matchup is what you have. A small market team versus a big market team. Built totally different based on player development trades versus one that has big spenders. So I think it's a great matchup, and I'm glad the Rays got there so the Houston Astros didn't there with a sub 500 record. So it saved the integrity of the Fall Classic for sure by having the two teams that amassed over 40 wins playing for the biggest prize. And a little bit of a coming out party for Clayton Kershaw, who's had 4 wins during the postseason as well, 2 in the World Series, and with tonight and obviously one more game to go.
Yep, exactly. So I was reading on ESPN, there is a interview where they talk about 3 of the reporters that are actually covering the Fall Classic from Globe Life Field. And they were talking that it's modern, it's bigger, it's more comfortable, but yet it's less charming because it doesn't have the same flair that the old stadium did. One of them said, it's fine, retractable roofs are never not cool. The knowledge that the hot summer months fans won't bake in the sun is a clear upgrade, but aesthetically there's nothing particularly inspiring about it.
Well, you know what, though? I'll tell you this. Texas has had problems in the past with the heat. When they had the original ballpark in Arlington, that was brutal. Pitchers would wear out. And, of course, the heat in Texas is just scorching. And players did not want to go there. They built another stadium. It was an improvement, but as it turns out, the heat was still going to be an issue, and they had no choice but to do what they ended up doing. You know, sometimes it's not how aesthetically the ballpark is. You're still going to have enough amenities inside between, you know, all, whether it's larger concession space, the restrooms being what they are, souvenirs. The whole idea when you go to a ballpark is these days the food's always going to be beyond ballpark frank. So they're going to make first class food. So, but you go there to watch a game.
Right.
That's what you do.
It's the quality of the players on the field.
And you have luxury suites too, so that they can rack in the revenues that they need to be able to afford these larger contracts. So it's not about winning a beauty contest. It's making sure that you have a ballpark suited to stand the next test of time where you go 50 to 100 years, because, you know, you just can't keep building ballparks every 50 to 100 years. So you have to put all your thought, your mind, and your resources into making these stadiums to last a long, long time. I would hope that these things could go 75 to 100 years. Of course, we'll never be alive when it happens anyways.
I agree. So I have a question for you. So
Sure.
A lot of these ballparks or stadiums are massive, big stadiums. And then in order for some of the fans to see, they put up these big, huge video boards or video screens. Do you think you lose some of the feeling of being at a live event if your best view is viewing it on the TV screen, as opposed to, you know, you're far up, way up, can't see the field real well, so you're watching the things on video screen? At that point, is it better to be at home or better to be in the?
Basically a matter of preference. I mean, you want to talk about the fact that, you know, you've got netting all the way around the ballparks nowadays you can't see, but they're doing that to protect you. So it just depends. The only thing that'll prevent you from going to a ballpark is whether you can afford it. I should point out, too, that in Pittsburgh and San Francisco, they have ballparks that are adjacent to the water where balls bounce into the pond, and then people are out there flagging them down. So, you know, so I think that those are interesting. Every ballpark is trying to outdo each other in their own particular way, whether they're I mean, do you put an asterisk by every home run hit because they're a hitter's ball? No, of course you don't. I mean, but
Right.
it depends on how they're built. But the only thing that'll keep people away from the ballpark is number one, COVID-19, as we've seen, or two, whether or not they can afford to go. The cost of what ticket prices are going to be, so that they can, otherwise you just stay home. You know, who knows what the long-term effects of attendance are going to be. Let me tell you right now that Major League Baseball during the pandemic shortened season lost $3.1 billion this year, but they had to do what they had to do. Could have been a lot worse by not having a season, or maybe not, but depends. I mean, would you rather be at a ballpark or watch a video? I don't know. And I can't imagine people buying season tickets at all these costs unless you're looking for the cheap seats.
I agree. I agree. I think out of the sports that we regularly attend or watch, that baseball is probably my most favorite, seeing it in person as opposed to watching it on TV. Football, I like it both ways. I get the advantage probably of a lot of than most people, because a lot of the football games we attend, I take pictures, so I'm on the field, and so I get it's a different viewpoint because I'm up close. But if I were a fan in the stands sitting way up, I think I'd I hate to say this, but I would rather probably be watching it on TV, because I would get a better bird's eye view. And maybe part of that is, as old as I'm getting, my eyes just aren't as good as they used to be. But there is always something to be said about being in the stands. I'll never forget when I took you to Camp Randall Stadium in Madison, Wisconsin. And it was in between the third quarter and the fourth quarter, and it was jump around time.
Right.
You thought the press box was falling down.
Well, that's true. But for me, I'm either in the press box or I'm not going. I'm there to work. Otherwise, I don't want to go. Because to me, after being in the game for 40 years, how would you expect me to react? Either I'm going to be right there.
You can still put a fan hat on.
I'm not.
You just choose not to.
Well, I'm a professional journalist, and that's how I prefer to do it, and that's how I'm going to do it. I mean, I didn't care about spring training. If it became the choice of buying a couple of tickets just to get in the game and knock it off the list, then I didn't care for a couple of times. But trust me, every opportunity I could to cover it, I was going to do it, because I'm a creature of habit.
Yes,
so I don't hate the fans. I can't stand them, to be honest with you. I just like being in the box, interacting with the reporters, making contacts, and doing what we do best here in the network.
Any closing thoughts that you'd like to talk about any of the stadiums that we didn't talk about?
Well, and the bottom line is, for all you folks here, we're talking major league ballparks. I really enjoy going to minor league ballparks too. I've covered professional baseball on all levels. I think it's great to go to a ballpark, interact with different people, talk to different members of the media. So whether you're a major league baseball fan or you prefer just minor leagues, I think if you're at a ballpark and you're a real true baseball person like you are, then go wherever you can go. I think, to me, baseball is the one sport that, you're developing prospects or you're being with the major leagues, it doesn't make any difference. It's something that we all grew up here from generation to generation, and I think that, to me, makes it really special all the way around. So it's an ageless sport for sure.
I would agree. Go out and enjoy. Take me out to the ball game, as the song says.
So meanwhile, you're listening to No Limits and watching No Limits. My name is Scott Morganroth. My co-host tonight is Candy Ebling. And we're talking about ballparks. Enjoyed doing it. We've gone to a lot of them. I've gone to, like I said, I've enjoyed the opportunity to do a lot of multi-purpose stadiums. But no matter where you go, whether it's recreation, whether you're working, it never gets old as long as you feel like that's something that you really do. We do No Limits together, and the only time we don't do No Limits together is when we have a guest that wants to talk about something else. But I enjoy doing this broadcast with you, Candy, to come up with some of the best ideas on the planet. And what I'd like you to let everybody know is what your role here is at the South Florida Tribune.
So here at the South Florida Tribune, besides trying to figure out different topics for us to talk about on No Limits, and we talk about literally no limits to what we would talk about on this program. We actually have a website, www.southfloridatribune.com. And I created the website. I post all the content. You write for us from time to time. So if you're ever looking for content, if you're ever looking to write and you want a platform, send it to us. southfloridatribune@gmail.com. We'll look it over and post it for you. We post things from the NFL, the Dolphins, Jags, Lions, to local colleges here in South Florida. And I shouldn't even say just South Florida, because we have the Florida Gators. We do FAU, USF. We even expand to some of the other colleges. To UAB sends us material. FIU sends us material. To the Tigers, to the Miami Marlins, they send us things. And obviously now it's going to be not baseball season, so the baseball stuff will dry up some. We'll get little trickles here and there. But we also have different podcasts as well, Scott, that we post up there. Tell us a little bit about those.
Yeah, well, the benefit of subscribing to the South Florida Tribune YouTube channel, which we encourage everybody to do so you can watch the visual part of this broadcast and listen to the audio as well, is we have Sports Exchange, No Limits, 108 Stitches Baseball Talk, Real and the Rare, Fantasy Football, South Florida Tribune Podcast, because we give you everything from sports and non-sports related material. And I think it's great because we're going to be doing more and more broadcasts with local businesses in the area as well as potential national outlets. So I think this is really good to be able to make sure we talk to everybody, not just a specific genre. I should also point out that we worked on an agreement with TradeFirst.com, which is based out of Oak Park, Michigan, and the Motor City Monitor has been created. Since I am from the Metro Detroit area and I maintain strong ties to the area, I think it's a great opportunity for us to be able to connect with an area where I got my start in the business for sure. So I take a lot of pride in that. And, again, I enjoy promoting student athletes as well as professionals in our given areas. I think it's important that you don't forget, I don't need to promote on social media everything that's wrong with our society with crimes. That's not what we need. We do have a good national news base that's featured on the website. You have weather on there, as well as national sports, as well as what we provide on our own. So this website that we've created here is a good all-around site is what it is. And our goal is to promote the local business enterprise. And I think that once we get through 2020, we're able to meet some of these individuals for whom I come in contact with through networking groups throughout the week. And we'll see which individuals feel like they want to take it upon themselves to go deeper than just 20 people out there. And our social media platform goes as high as 10,000 when you factor in LinkedIn, you factor in Facebook and Twitter, and we do a little bit on Instagram. Right? It's a work in progress, but we do what we need to do to get the name out there. So,
I would agree, and we're always looking for sponsors or advertisers. So anybody wants to sponsor one of these broadcasts, please get in contact with one of us.
And let me give some social media information while we're on that. Okay, if you want to follow us at Twitter, you can do so at Tribune South. That's at Tribune South. Facebook and Instagram, go ahead and like South Florida Tribune. As I just mentioned moments ago, please subscribe to the South Florida Tribune YouTube channel. You get plenty of things to watch and listen to. And Candy, why don't you mention the website again and the Gmail account, please?
www.southfloridatribune.com. Find all of our content, all of our broadcasts. You even find links to all the different social media outlets that Scott has mentioned. And if you want to email us, if you have ideas, or if you want to get involved, if you want to advertise, southfloridatribune@gmail.com.
If you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, Scott Morgan, I'll be more than happy to connect with you there. If you want to listen to the audio version of No Limits, by all means, please do so. You can listen to it wherever you get your podcasts, or you can do so through Apple Podcasts, Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Google Podcasts. So having iHeartRadio as a distribution partner is really huge for what we're trying to do, as well as the other ones, Google, and Apple Podcasts are very big as well. So we want to make sure that you can hear it through audio as well as visual, whatever you prefer. And we enjoy bringing this broadcast. We've had alarm systems on here. We're going to be doing a broadcast actually next Tuesday on No Limits about Medicare open enrollment. So I'm looking forward to bringing that to you on election day as well. For those of you who haven't voted early, vote early, or and at least vote, because this is a very, very important election. And it's one that I think is going to be the most important election of all time, considering the candidates out there. And if you want to initiate change, you need to be proactive about it. So, Candy, why don't you go out there and give everybody the COVID message, please?
COVID-19, it's real, it's alive, and it's out there. And there's not a vaccine yet that's out there for us. So we have to take the necessary precautions to try and stop the spread. Mask up, wash your hands, social distance. Please don't gather in large groups. Do your due diligence, because you just never know. Mask up, please. Take it serious.
Well done. So any final thoughts, Candy?
Enjoy the World Series. Vote next week. And just enjoy and mask up.
All right. Well, on behalf of Candy Ablake, my name is Scott Morgan, Roth Motor City Madmouth. Thank you for joining us on this edition of No Limits. We hope we've enlightened you a lot about ballparks out there. Like I said, I don't care whether they're brand new ballparks, whether they're minor league, college ballparks, whatever you're close to. If you feel like going to a ballpark and seeing the great American pastime, there's all kinds of ways to do it. They're all different shapes and sizes. Just enjoy it. So take me out to the ballpark. That's what I certainly enjoy doing, whether it's a working capacity or just as a general spectator. So, Candy, well done, and we look forward to seeing our audience, you fans out there, on the next edition of No Limits. Good night, everybody, and have a great weekend.
Thank you.